while we do that, would everyone like to share where they're calling in from? Everyone can just put it on the chat and then we can. Oh, we have a couple of people from Queens. I'm from Queens, New York, so that's exciting. I see Evelyn's from White Plains, Mastic Beach, Long Island. North Carolina. Oh, but welcome to New York State if you're going to be moving soon. It's nice to see we have a wide variety of folks calling in from everywhere. We'll give it one more minute and then we can start. Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you so much for calling in today and happy Social Work Month. And I'm really excited to kick off Social Work Month by introducing some amazing social workers who are running for office in various parts of New York State, which is really exciting. A quick introduction of myself. My name is Notion. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a PACE member of the New York State chapter. And the PACE is the Political Action for Candidate Election, where this committee reviews endorsement applications from social workers or anyone who's running for office across New York State, and we get to choose who we want to endorse as the New York State chapter and as a member. And we wanted to actually host this town hall to just introduce our any social workers to some really incredible people who are running for office. And today we have Sarah Kennard, Sheila Delvell, and Chelsea Vialba who will be joining us today. And I want to take this chance to let them introduce themselves and what position they're running for. And I'll let Sarah start.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah, as Notion mentioned. I'm happy to see you all here. So my pronouns are she, he. No, I'm sorry. She, her, hers. And I am running to be a school board trustee in the South Country Central School District. That's all I had to say, right?
Yeah. And then Sheila and then Chelsea can go.
Hi, my name is Sheila Delval. I am running for the library board in the Mastic Moriches Community Library. Yeah.
I'll go. My name is Chelsea Vialba. I am a alum of the Stony Brook School of Social Welfare. I have a couple years of experience in like local politics, and I am currently running for the Central Islip Board of Education.
Awesome, thank you. And I want this town hall to be like a casual conversation between everyone who's attending and our panelists. But just to start the discussion, I wanted to ask all three of our candidates who are running for office today to first just maybe talk about why you wanted to run for this office and how you think being a social worker will bring value to this position. And Sarah, you can go first.
Okay, so I wanted to, well, initially I hadn't planned on running for any sort of political office. I really like to be in the background helping and things like that. So this wasn't something that I wanted to do, but well, she's not even on here, but Jessica Mitchell kind of seeks you out and she finds you in the social work program. So she found me. And so I really have had a passion for working with youth my entire life since I was 14, working at the Boys and Girls Club. And when I was able to intern at the middle school that I used to attend when I was younger, I kind of got to see things from a different perspective. You know, when you're a kid, you see things from a child's perspective, but, you know, as an adult and being a social work intern, I got to see a lot of what was going on behind the scenes. And I'm from a community where the school is very integrated and, very diverse, and the youth mostly all get along, but there's a lot of systemic and institutional racism, to be completely blunt and, honest. And I see it in a lot of the policies that are in the school. There's a lot of zero tolerance. And I just felt that there was a better way that we could approach many of the situations that happened. There's many preventative things that we could have done. And I am really big on trauma-informed and trauma-responsive care, especially in the school system, especially when there's a high prevalence of Black and brown youth, and there are many teachers and staff and faculty that don't look like them. There can be that disconnect. And so I really felt, going through my program and the internship, that the school board was a way that I could make a difference. And I knew that I would come up against a lot of, backlash and things like that, because, change can be difficult on all sides. But I really believe that my ability to bring people from opposite sides together would really help bridge that gap for those students and the faculty and the staff. And so that is why I decided to run after going back and forth. And being a social worker, I feel like that brings all different perspectives together. And if I had to pinpoint one of our values that I think would really enhance politics in general, is dignity and worth of the person. When you're dealing with so many people, everyone can just become a number or a statistic, and you try to do things to get statistics in your favor when you're trying to apply for grants or things like that. But we're really not looking at the individuals and their circumstances and their environments, and really providing a safe environment for everyone to learn, not just math or academically, but social and emotionally as well. And so I think bringing the dignity and worth of a person to the perspective of the school board will really help them in addressing many of the human rights issues that are going on in the school, and to kind of shed a different light that's not just political, but we're all human beings and we all have rights and deserve to be safe and get an education that, will help us to achieve our own personal goals. And so that is my answer. Sorry, it was a mouthful, but yes.
I love that though, Sarah. That was awesome.
Thank you.
So I guess I'll go next. I am running for the Mastic Moriches Library Board, and I too am mentored by the same professor, Jessica Mitchell. It was definitely not in the plans or the cards for me, but as time goes by, you just start, well, I'll keep it on me. I just started to see the need for a social worker in pretty much every situation. And when I was doing my petition the last couple of days and, preparing for a very long day today, we did Community Learning Day today, and trying to get the petition done, people were asking me, what does the library board do? And I thought, wow, that's a really great question. I should probably know that, So, and I knew vaguely, that they were in charge of this big project, a building project we have going on. But I did a little reading and read the bios of the two members that have them posted. And I was a little intimidated because they bring decades of experience to the table, running multi-million-dollar businesses. And then one of the board members is the director of the Section 8 housing authority, like on the east end of Long Island. So I thought to myself, what could I bring to the table for the library board? And what I had realized in checking out the dates of each board member was the one that runs the Section 8 office, he's been on the board since 1998, and it's 2021. And I started to do a little research, and they are the same 5 people are on the board throughout the course of the last 19 years. Like one will leave and then another will fill the gap. And then when that one is out, the next, it's like a game of dominoes. And I know that it's not going to be like Sarah, I appreciate that you said that, like the bridging the gap piece, because I feel that because nobody on that board looks like I do, I can be a bridge for the people that do look like me to make decisions that have to do with my community, our community. And I believe that a social worker would be amazing. Like, I'm trying to get a paid position, if not for myself, for another social worker in that library, because it's used as a community center as it is. I believe a social worker would be an asset to the library, because sometimes people walk in and have the kind of problems that they're sharing with staff members, you know, that are not qualified and not trained, and but that's how desperate they are. And I would just want to bring innovative ideas. And I know they're not ready, but I'm coming.
That's awesome, Sheila. And yes, you are coming and you will be a force for change. Chelsea, do you want to go next?
Yes, sorry, I was having a difficult time finding the mute button. And sorry that my face is not on right now. I am currently experiencing a power outage for anyone on Long Island. It's crazy wind right now. So I decided to run for school board because I am an alum of Central Islip High School and the school district, which is where I'm currently located. And I had the privilege of attending like a widely diverse school district such as Central Islip, and have experiences that I believe many people don't, coming from like a place where so many different students of different cultural backgrounds join together in one place. And I think it's important for social workers to get involved in politics and be in positions of leadership, because we are taught how important it is to be culturally sensitive. And as you guys might have seen in my notes, but cultural sensitivity is so important. And we also, I think as a profession, have a deep connection with empathy and empathy for other people outside of ourselves and our prescribed groups. And I think it's important to be a community accomplice to help the community address and meet their needs. I think that education, as Sarah mentioned earlier, for children right now has to be focused on aspects such as social emotional learning, trauma-informed education, and mental health education, because there's still a lot of stigma regarding mental health. So that's a big factor for me. I just want to make sure that the place that I grew up has the same opportunities as the surrounding areas. And then an interesting thing about school boards in New York is that they run without really like state regulation. So it's basically like a local tribunal that's funded by property taxes, which further adds to the inequity we see in our children's education. So I think it's super important for social workers to get involved in political races, campaigns, local government, because we know how to talk to people and we know how to listen, more importantly. And that's what I want to do. I have experience with a local congressional campaign this past cycle. Unfortunately, we did not win, but I learned so much. I connected with so many people, and it was like a truly eye-opening experience. And being in school also was very beneficial because I was able to intern at a local government office and learn the behind the scenes of how government works and why and how decisions are made, you know, from the tiniest things to how to get a pothole filled in the road and how that affects people's lives and livelihood. So yeah, social workers, we need to, you know, the Beyonce song, Who Run the World, social workers.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. Does anyone have a question from the audience?
Yeah, I actually wanted to say, definitely the candidates give me a lot of hope for the future. I really hope you all run for office, for more office as terms come up. I actually do have a question. So, um, what initiatives and policies and like action items do you plan to have addressed in the first half of the year if you are elected? There's specific like action items that you want to take on when you are elected. I'm just curious, from every single one.
Okay. So aside from what's happening with COVID, there has been a landfill. Okay, let me see if I can explain this. So South Country is really comprised of Bellport, North Bellport, and parts of Yaphank and some parts of Patchogue. But focusing on Bellport and North Bellport, why there's a distinction, meaning North Bellport is where all the Black and brown people live, and then Bellport is where mostly all of our white counterparts live. And so in North Bellport, and right down the street from our intermediate school and right behind our shelter that we have there is a landfill. I'll call it a dump because that's really what it is. And many of you have probably heard about it, but it's causing a lot of health issues in our community. It's been there for years, and that is one of the issues that I am really adamant about tackling, because not only is our physical well-being important, but that also plays a role in our mental and emotional and social well-being. Because if one part is off, then all parts are off. And it's kind of hard to focus on one part when you have this chemical inducing plant near your home and in your environment. And so I think that specifically is something that I really want to tackle. And I think a lot of the people in the community are really adamant about tackling, especially like coming like the first part of this year, because we know that COVID, if you're healthy, you have a higher chance of surviving and getting better. But with the with underlying health conditions that this landfill has caused, there are many people in our community who won't get better. And so I think that is very important to address, and that's a top priority for me. One of the initiatives that I definitely am going to tackle when I get elected, because I will get elected.
Okay. For me, I think the angle is a little different because I'm not sure how the votes work yet. Like if it's like Congress. So I could have a lot of initiatives and then they not pass because I've not received the support of the board. So I'm still feeling out the early stages, but one of my main initiatives is to have safe space for the LGBTQ youth in this area. There are a lot of homeless kids in that population, in that community. And I know that in the Saturday class, there is an MSW student who said that he tried to implement an initiative and that the board shut him down. So I just feel like maybe because I live here, it might be received differently. So that is one thing. And then the second thing is an outreach program to families that have been affected by gun violence. There's a lot of that here also. And there is an Indian reservation here in my area. So like the police don't go in there, they have to pay for their own, recycling and for their trash to come out. But there are a lot of needs inside also. And yesterday, Naz and I did our window survey. She's lived in Mastic 2 years and she never knew that reservation was here. So I took her through there. We, were counting gas stations, convenience stores, smoke shops, et cetera, et cetera. And she was saying too, and I was giving her the history. The long and short of it is, since the chief died, it's pretty much been a free-for-all back there. I mean, it always was a free-for-all, but it was regulated. So now there are just a lot of things going on, and they need help too. and they are a part of my community. So, you know, in trying to sort out who I need to contact, maybe use their community center for meetings. It's still up in the air, but it's definitely on my list of things to do. Like, I have big ideas. It's just getting the permission, I guess, to carry them out. But I want to be a bridge. That's my favorite word. You know, I want to connect everybody with services. That's my goal.
I think that if I were to be elected, one of the biggest things that I want to address is that children in my school district have access to the tools needed for remote learning, including, you know, tablets or Wi-Fi. I live in a district that is considered low income, and I just think it's important to establish support networks while we're all undergoing this pandemic, as well as education about mental health, because a lot of young students are unaware of how mental health can affect other parts of their lives. And there is a lot of, you know, misinformation out there, or I think that it's just important for students to know that it's okay to not be okay, and to have somewhere that they can go to feel safe, especially in these times. I would like to innovate new ways to socialize safely online and outdoors as the weather gets warmer. We've lost so much of our ability to socialize safely because of the pandemic. So I think that it's really important to get activities for families and students of all ages that can be done in a safe way that, you know, respects all health protocols, but also gets people that dose of serotonin, of human connection that we've all been missing for the past year now. And finally, I think that ensuring that our students and their families get the support they need, including access to free healthy meals, because as I stated before, the area I reside in has a lot of low-income families, and with the pandemic wreaking its havoc as it has, a lot of people are struggling to get by and to provide food for their families. And I just think it's important for us to work as a community. And there's the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And I truly, firmly believe in that. I think that we need to go back to that, especially now, and just know that we have, you know, like us social workers, this is a village right here. We can all support each other, and we can all support each other's, you know, clients or constituents. So I think meetings like this are really important, because we can connect and inspire other social workers and build an even richer network of resources for our students, clients, and constituents.
Thank you so much. Gina, you can go. I see you raised your hand.
Yes. Could you all give us an idea of what your process was like for filing to run and getting the petitions?
Yes. So for South Country, I had to contact the secretary to the superintendent at the district office to see first when the petitions would be available. So they're usually available mid to late March. And I know this because I tried to run last year, but there were issues. But usually I know that you have to get a certain amount of signatures to be placed on the ballot. So for South Country, it's typically like 10% of the registered voters who voted in the last election cycle. So it's about range from 25 to 50 signatures of registered voters in the district you're running in to get onto the ballot. You also have to have lived in the district you're running for, the year prior to when you're running. I mean, I've lived here my whole life, so I kind of already met that standard. You have to be 18 or older, you have to be a registered voter and things like that. So it's basic things that you would need. And canvassing, if you guys have never done it, I don't know if you guys still do lead day when you go up to Albany, but you know, canvassing and going around to the different people in your community is important, because you know your name I know my name is familiar in my community, but I want the community members to know what I'm running for, and you know that I'm there to service them and their needs and the children's needs. And so canvassing is a big part of it. South Country is small enough, it's big, but it's small enough to also knock on everyone's door by the time the election comes up in May, to, you know, get to know them. I don't know that I'll be really doing that outside of North Belport where I live, just because of the coronavirus. And, you know, I don't want to impose on anyone and things like that. But having a social media strategy is very important as well. I plan to hold what they call Facebook Lives or Instagram Lives. You know, I plan to host a Zoom meeting or two before, so just so that, you know, the community members can have like a conversation that we're having now, can have a conversation. And so that's, I'd say like that's a small part of the process. If you, I don't know if you go to Stony Brook or if anyone goes to Stony Brook and you're interested in taking the campaign school, you will learn how to run a campaign, you know, going through all of your social media to make sure that there's no stupid things that you said or did in high school that are still on there that people might try to use against you, making sure your taxes are in order and all that fun stuff, you know, making sure you get specific endorsements. I'm trying to get the endorsement of the president of the school board currently and the teachers union. I'm trying to get their endorsement. I would also like to get the endorsement of the PTA, because, you know, our parents will be mostly who I'm dealing with and things like that. And so there's a lot, but that's a little bit of the process of trying to get, you know, on the ballot so that people will, you know, can vote for you that way. And, you know, just making sure that your community members know who you are, the initiatives that you're running for, and being open and willing to have, you know, the discussions with them, as hard as they may be.
Thank you, Sarah. And for me, my process was completely different. I just finished the petition. It was 25 signatures, but I started about 2 months ago inquiring, and the library website had not been updated since 2017, which I think I mentioned earlier. So there was no public record of pretty much anything. Jessica Mitchell told me that, you know, I should be able to pull the petition off of the website. It was not there. I should be able to pull the absentee ballots off the website. It was not there. There was nothing there, basically. They're there now, though, because I checked before this meeting started, so I could either report it or not. And so, yeah, 6 weeks ago, I started inquiring, and I was getting brushed off by my task supervisor. So, and the thing that was different in this experience is anybody who knows me personally knows that, like, I don't take no well. So I'll push. And I didn't in this situation. And Jessica kept asking me, like, what is going on with you? Like, why do you not have answers for me yet? And I imagine avoiding Jessica and answering her for 6 weeks. Like, it was a very tough month and a half. But she just kept saying, this is not like you. But I'm taking a different approach, because if I want to sit on this board, I don't want to go in like a bull in a china shop, which is my normal like demeanor, whether I'm trying or not. It's just who I am. And so I thought I would try something different, because I don't want to, I don't know, I kind of felt like I was shaking a hornet's nest. That's how much resistance I was getting from just getting paperwork or getting information. Long and short of it is, I ended up getting it because I had to file, you know, I had to bring a FOIL request, which now they know I am starting a paper trail. You're, you know, you're withholding information from the public. You know, you can't do that. So make it right, or, there's like going to be a thing. And so they provided me with the petition. I got it done. And one thing I can say is you may think 25 signatures is not a lot until you have the form in your hand, because it's like, where do I start? Do I talk to my neighbors, which would have been easy enough? Walk up the street one side, walk down the street the other side. But what I did instead was go to local business owners that I have a rapport with, business owners that have helped me have voter registration days. Like, I do things in the community that have nothing to do with school because I'm obsessed with voting. So I want to be sure everybody that can do it legally is registered and is doing it, So I went to all these business owners, and then one of them said, listen, leave it here, come back at 5 o'clock. I had a class. I had a 1 o'clock class. I came back at 5 and they wrote underneath the 25th signature. People just kept signing it, So I took it and I was like, thank you. And so I turned it in, and I'm so excited. And, I saw the absentee ballot, and I was texting with Jessica when the meeting started. And I said, is this absentee ballot how people are going to vote this year? Is this how this is going to work? And she said, yes, wait till the deadline, which is March 8th. And then, do the formal ask, is this how we're doing it? And then I'll just start to distribute absentee ballots. But again, like, people know me because, we did the voter registration, but we had a barbecue. I rented the bounce slide for the kids. We did face painting. That everything that I do in this community is not just about the vote. It's about the kids too, and the grandparents that are raising their kids because parents are in rehab or whatever the situation is. I just want, I don't know. I've been a resident of Mastic since '86. So I remember when it was just summer bungalows here. And I know that I can never bring it back to that, but I just feel like if people understood that people of color are not going to hurt you, like, there's such a fear factor in this area, and so, there are a different breed of white people out here, and I don't mean to be offensive, but like, they're not scared. They're not scared, and they will fight. And it's bad. The racial climate here is terrible since the last administration. People wave Trump flags like a Confederate flag. That's a new Confederate flag out here. So then if you see somebody with it on their car, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff, and I don't expect to fix it all. I just want to alleviate some of the pressure. That's all.
Thank you for sharing. And so I guess it's my turn. And my experience with the requisites for running for school board was a bit different. I do have local political experience. As I mentioned, like with the internship I had when I was in undergraduate, but I have to thank Gina, who is actually in this meeting, because of her support and the support of other social workers, as well as Jessica Mitchell, who you've heard. And if you don't know her, I suggest you email her, tell her you're a social worker, and she will have you in her net of social workers she wants to run for office. But the Freedom of Information Law ensures that information that should be public, like my colleague just said, is available to the public. And we experienced the same thing. And then Gina wrote a lovely email demanding under FOIL to get the information needed. And that support is just goes a long way. And as far as like canvassing goes, I'm still kind of scarred by my last campaign because it was a congressional campaign. It was so big. But from what I've learned, like a school board campaign, which is much more local, does involve canvassing, hopefully in person by this summer. And yes, I think it's like 10 or to 20% of the people who voted from the last election what I learned in my campaign experience was to try and get more signatures than you need, so that it's like unquestionable that these are actual residents in your town that want you, that support you running. Especially meeting people where they're at. I believe Sarah said something about like, you know, Instagram lives and the social media. And I think that that's so important. We have so much technology, and, you know, there are people who use it for bad, but we can use it for so much good, especially like connecting to people. And one of my heroes is AOC, or Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and she really just hangs out with the community virtually. And, you know, that is something that is important and that I want from an elected official or an elected position. And I assume that other people would want that as well, to be able to connect and, you know, put a face to the name, because a lot of people who are elected are these faceless entities that we don't really know of or know who they are. And I think that as the campaigning starts, another good tip that I learned from my former campaign is that it's important to meet and listen to the community. You know, we all have like different ideas of what we can do better, but like it's super important to go to the local organizations and agencies, the schools, the churches, the nursing, you know, different community venues, to really get in touch with the community and see what they feel that they need. Because just because I'm a resident of Central Islip and I've lived here for a certain, you know, however many years, and I believe we have certain issues, doesn't mean that my neighbor next door thinks that those are we have the same issues. But I think that really, especially with the pandemic, we have to advertise voting days to the public, show people that where they can vote, how they can vote, make sure that people are just aware of how simple it is, and ensure that there isn't, you know, any form of suppression. New York recently, I think last year, passed the Automatic Registration Act. So that's great. That was a big thing back before that, having to register hundreds of people, you know, try to convince people that, you know, it's important for them to vote. But now it's even easier to convince people to vote because they don't have to fill out that information. If they get a driver's license, it's already there. They'll already be able to vote. And I think that that's beautiful. But yeah, it's super important to work with the connections you already have, churches, schools, extracurriculars, the soccer club, the local coffee shop. The colleague before me who mentioned, you know, the business and the petition, I think that's a great idea. And I might borrow that, but it's really just using what you have, because as social workers, especially starting out, we're not paid a lot. We can't put tons of money into posters and billboards and whatever we might see. But if you're a resident, which you have to be to run for local office, I think that there's a deeper connection that you can use and take advantage of, but not in a take advantage sort of way, more like you already have your foot in the door, so now you can open the door and ask for that support, as well as ask the community what they need and what they want to see.
Those were such amazing responses and really great tips. And it was really great to hear how campaigning has looked like behind the scenes for all of you. Does anyone else have any more questions? You can speak, like unmute and speak. Yes.
Yes. Sorry. My name is Myra Shihar Aya. And I just want to ask, I guess, because I feel like money is a very important factor, and we all really need to talk about, like, how can we realistically prepare ourselves to have enough funds for this? and like what are the costs that we need to focus on, and also not just fiscal costs but like emotional. I feel like it's going to be draining emotionally, and so how can you sustain yourself, by having a job and having enough funds for these campaigns, while also, not burning out or preventing yourself from burning out, or any ways of, dealing with the burnouts. I hope that's not too much of a question. I'm sorry if it is.
No, it's not too much. So for these smaller campaigns, at least I know for school board, there's not a great financial responsibility. I could invest in those, yard signs if I wanted to, but I probably won't. But there's not really, for this such a small, like a local election, there's not really at least from my experience, a financial responsibility. If I did want to invest in those signs, what we did learn at the campaign school at UConn last year, a tip: have a drink with you. And, you're talking to someone you want to, maybe donate money to your campaign. And I believe there's only like a specific amount because of the size of the campaign that you can actually get donated to you. But let's say we're talking $500. I think that's reasonable. You ask them, because social workers, we don't like asking for money. We don't like mentioning money, but you, after you've talked and, you think they're willing to donate, like, would you be willing to donate this amount, $500 to this cause, so I can get these signs to, get the word out that I'm running for office? And you take a drink of whatever you have in your hand, so you'll stop talking and let them answer. That's just a tip that we learned. But to speak about the social cost, the way I look at it is I have a greater social responsibility. So that kind of outweighs the cost for me. Because I think just being a social worker, there's a great that cost that's going to come to me emotionally, mentally. But this work is not for the faint of heart, and I knew the cost when I was coming into it. And I think that, my life experience and has it prepared me for this, and even before I decided to run for Board of Education, it was up to me to look to myself, figure out what my triggers were, things that I needed to work on as, to be the best social worker and a human being that I could be, before putting myself in a position to try to help other people. And I think you take that same thing into running for whatever office you're going to run for. We talk about self-care, it's more than putting on a face mask or taking a bubble bath. Those things are great, but the work that we ask our clients to do, and we're going to ask our communities to do, is the same work that we have to first do for ourselves in order to require that of someone else. And so I'm prepared. I'm mentally prepared for the social cost, but I'm also, going to take time spent with my family. I love my nieces and nephews. I'm doing this work for them because they're coming up, and I want the world to be a better place for them. And just, making sure that I'm okay. If you need to go to therapy, go to therapy. I'm going to practice what I preach. Like, we need to really get, we're bearing our souls here. Like, go to therapy, get yourself together, because anything you do, there's going to be there's going to be a cost, and you have to be willing to pay the price. And I'm willing to do the work. And so I'm glad that you didn't ask this question, but I'm glad that I didn't get elected last year, because this has been a rough year for everybody, but I know it's been a very rough year for me. And I don't know that I could have done the work then, but I know now, coming out of the pandemic and everything that I had experienced, and figuring out what triggered me and what I had to do for myself just to be a functioning human being. There's no cost that's too great for the responsibility that I know that I have to my community and to the people who are coming up behind me. So therapy is self-care. That's what I'm going to end with. Therapy is self-care.
Thank you, Sarah. And I have a question actually before I share.
Okay.
I know she asked you a question, but I have a question. What does your school board look like? Do you know what it looks like?
Yes, I have a picture of them actually on my phone right now. There are, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 members. 2 of them are Black men. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them are white women, and 1 of them is a white man.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure, and I just always reference that because I just really want to make a difference in my community like you. I want to, if not this time, next time, because I'll keep running until they give me a seat. So
Hello.
I have that in my mind as well. And back to Myra's question, Jessica gave us a breakdown for these, you know, the volunteer positions, local politics. And it was, if you have 10 hours, like unencumbered hours in a week, you could be on the library board or the Board of Education, you know, school board. So I think about how many hours I sit down to watch Heartland in the morning. Like, I'll get up at 5 o'clock just so I could watch TV for 2 hours. That's insane. You know, so if I took those 2 hours and I did something else with them, a little more productive, I have 10 hours. I knew 2 hours that I could give right away, which was binge watching Netflix. So, and I don't mean to pull anybody else's covers off. That's just me. And so the 10 hours, that was one thing. And she also said, you know, pretty much what Sarah said, that the only thing that it is going to cost you is being genuine and authentic in your approach and making sure your community knows who you are, you know. And you know, when Jessica asked me tonight, like, to come into the town hall and share what we were doing, you know, politically, I was sitting on the couch. I had just finished eating, like, oh my God, an amazing dinner that I cooked myself, which is total news, by the way, because I don't cook. And I was ready to relax. And I was like, it's been such a long day. And you know what my new campaign manager told me? No, you're going to go online and make sure that the social work community knows who you are and that everybody knows who you are. So it's important to have anybody, best friend, other half, telling you, you got this. Deep breath. So I tightened my bun and here I am.
Hi. So to the point that you were just saying, I totally agree. We all need someone to keep you accountable because it can get hard sometimes to have all that self-motivation. And, you know, if you are running for something, it's your campaign. It's, you know, representing you and your values. And I think as social workers, we all know the importance of self-care, and the consequences of burnout. So what was the original question? If someone doesn't mind, was it the fundraising or like
Yes. So
the monetary cost? Okay.
yeah, so like what were the monetary demands and also just the emotional demands, I guess, and how to prepare for both, you know, financially and emotionally.
You got it. All right. So I will be very frank. I am a former college student with thousands of dollars in debt, currently living at home. So you don't have to be a millionaire to run for local office. A large part of it, regardless of what position you are running for, revolves around fundraising. And if you think about it, I'm sure in all of our respective home areas, locations, we know, you know, maybe 20 people. If I ask those 20 people who know me, who, you know, might be friendly with me, if they can donate $20, that's $400 right there. And, you know, times are tough right now, but I think that they will get tougher if we do not take action in our local and national politics. As we've seen with the last few years, things can change for the worse very quickly. And I think that we need to change it for the better even faster, because there's this pandemic, the toll it's taken on society, it's going to keep increasing. So I think that really one thing that inspired me to run for office, even though I am not, a financial whiz and currently not making $150,000 a year, was there is this young man who lived in the town next to me, who ran this past cycle, who was the same age as me, and actually graduated high school with my current partner. And he ran for assembly. And he was a great candidate. And I saw him at protests over the summer. I saw him just debating with people twice his age. And it was really refreshing because we all think that we can't change the world, and we can. We do it every day in small ways. But when we put our mind to changing something for the better for our community, for something other than ourselves, I think that that's really a social work superpower, is that if someone tells you, can you help us? Can you help us? Or can you help this community? That's our job. So we kind of might be even more dedicated to improving quality of life for our clients, and doing something for them that we might not do for ourselves, while also learning in the process that we have to do for ourselves. I came off my former congressional campaign exhausted. November 3rd was election day. It has been about 3 months, and I'm still exhausted. I worked 25 hours, 8 days a week for that campaign. So a local campaign does not intimidate me now that I've been in the belly of the beast. And I don't believe that it'll be as demanding as a congressional district-wide campaign. But I think that one thing that I've learned from my local political experience is how important time management is. I had an agenda. I had Google calendars, reminds, texts, Post-it notes everywhere just to keep me on track of everything that's happening. And because of the nature of politics, everything is very fast moving and fluid. It all depends on what action the Supreme Court might have taken, or what the president said. Although now it's not as egregious. But I think that another thing that I learned in my time as a student at Stony Brook from another student was, if you cannot take 2 hours on a Sunday for yourself, you're working yourself too hard. And that's something that I try to keep in mind, is that unless you're running for governor or president, but if you're a social worker and you're running for office and going to school and, going to work, you can do it. It's going to be hard. You can do it. But you also have to remind yourself that if you don't take care of yourself, no one else is going to do that for you. And you can't have empathy for other people. You will cause burnout because your cup you will not have water in your cup to give others. So I think really it's just remembering that why we're doing these things, why we're running for office, and why we became social workers. A lot of it, speaking for myself, I think a lot of it has to do with personal healing. And that was something someone mentioned earlier, is that we really have to heal and be aware of our own traumas and biases and work through that before we can truly be a community accomplice and help underrepresented and marginalized groups advance and succeed in a world that doesn't really support all of those groups.
Thank you so much to all three of you. We are almost near 8 p.m. and I did want to ask all three, Sarah, Sheila, and Chelsea, if you have a website or any ways that if anyone on the call was interested to help out, for a way for them to reach out, let them know they want to volunteer, or any way that any of us can support you, if you have a contact address or something like that. And I see that Jessica is on the call, and I know her name was mentioned multiple times, and she was my co-organizer, so I do want to just ask her to come and just maybe introduce herself, say a few words. I'm putting you on the spot, Jessica.
Notion, you had it. I don't need to say anything. This was all Notion's idea. She did a wonderful job, and I will be happy to let her take over pace because she can. Yes, you can. But yes, thank you for coming. And every single person here should consider running for office because it's so, so important. And feel free to reach out to me. But if you do, then understand that like you committed to doing it, and I'm gonna make you do it. So.
He will make you.
Be careful. I tell my students at the beginning of every year it is significantly more dangerous for me to have their phone number than for them to have my phone number because I will not let them go, which they can attest to, the 3 people on the school running for office. So yes, but yes, Notion, you did a wonderful job. Thank you. I'm very
Thank
excited
you.
for everyone who's running.
Thank you, Jessica. And thank you so much to everyone who came out. Happy Social Work Month. I think Sarah, Sheila, and Chelsea, you all did a great job of showing the power of social work and really starting off this month with a great, like great energy for all of us to remember we have the power, we have the ability to make change. And yes, I agree. Everyone should run for office. I hope everyone here one day will be running for office, and I will be the person to say, I will sign up for your campaign to help out. I will always offer that. But thank you so much for attending. I hope everyone has a wonderful night and look forward to all the other events that the New York State chapter is hosting.
Thank you so much.
Thank